Starting something new can be scary, but it can also be exciting. Dreams are always fun to have, but it's exhilarating seeing a dream become a reality. In today's episode, we're talking with Pure Drip Wellness owner, Lyndsay Turner.
Hey!
She'll be sharing how she moved past her fears and hurdles and how her faith in Jesus helped move her dreams into her reality. Lyndsay, thanks for coming out today.
Thank you for having me. I'm honored to be a part of your podcast.
Yeah. So when did you first start thinking of creating Pure Drip? Did you always want to do this, or did the thought suddenly just come to you?
Owning a health or fitness studio has been a long-time dream of mine, about 20 years in the making, since early adulthood.
Yeah.
The infrared sauna piece of the business was an idea that came to me about a year and a half ago when I first learned about this technology of infrared heat. And I did not really expect for the business to happen at this point in my life.
Yeah.
I assumed it would happen later on down the road after my kids were graduated and out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
But God had other plans.
Okay. Well, I'm glad he was able to speed that up.
He sped it up for sure.
Yeah. So tell us about this sauna technology. Like, what is that? Tell us more about that.
So the saunas that I have in my studio are a little bit different than the traditional steam sauna that you would see in like a typical gym setting.
Or movies that I've seen.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff. Yeah.
So a steam sauna is just where you have like the little heater with the rocks in there and they pour the water and it creates a steam. A little bit uncomfortable to sit in because it's very humid. We're used to the humidity in Louisiana, so we know how that feels. But with the infrared saunas, it's a dry heat. So you can sit in there for a longer period of time. It's more sustainable. You can actually breathe because there's no humidity in there.
Okay.
They do get pretty hot. We get our saunas up to about 150 degrees.
Wow.
But like I said, because there's no humidity, it's easier to stay in there for a longer period of time. And the infrared heaters, they emit light, and that's experienced as radiant heat, which heats the body at the cellular level, which basically from the inside out.
Oh, okay.
And there's all kind of benefits that go along with the infrared technology. Anything from increased blood circulation.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, of course, going to help lower the blood pressure. Athletes can come in, or even just people that like to work out often, and you have those sore muscles after a workout. It can help recover that quickly so that you can get back to your next workout.
Yeah.
It's also going to help with joint pain. So people that struggle with arthritis or any type of joint pain really can benefit from it. And then, of course, you have just the relaxation, stress relief element that goes along with it as well.
Do you play music in there too, or?
Absolutely. So,
awesome.
So you can play your own music. There's a really cool thing in our saunas that you can Bluetooth, your own phone. So you can listen to your own music or your own favorite podcast.
Yes. Maybe up for the mic.
Absolutely. So you can sit in there and listen to your own thing and actually Bluetooth your phone to the speakers inside of our saunas. Cool. So that's a fun little additional piece. Yeah. We also have TVs in the room. Okay. So if somebody wants to go in there and have a little hot yoga session in the sauna, they can. Wow. They can, pull up YouTube, or if they just want to chill and relax, they can watch Netflix while they're in there. Yeah. So we've got all that available to them in our sauna suites. So we try to make it, a fun and exciting experience for everybody and give them a variety of activities they can do while in the sauna.
That's really cool. Yeah. So what made you want to start your business, and what's your passion behind it?
Well, I've always had a love and a curiosity and excitement for all things health, wellness, fitness.
Yeah.
And that's taken many different avenues throughout the years. One of the early experience was in junior high. I started on the dance team.
Okay.
And that carried me through high school. And so with that, there was workouts we had to do. We had to run track, and we had to do stadiums, and we had to stretch, and we had to, of course, practice, and just all of these things. So that kind of just started that naturally. And then in my late teens, early 20s, I guess, I got my first job in the fitness wellness industry, which was at Junior Fitness Academy. That was a small gym here in town. And then a little bit later in my 20s, I taught Zumba for several years. That was really fun. I taught just regular Zumba for adults, but then I also, at some point in that journey, transitioned into teaching to kids. So I went around to like daycares, worked with the YMCA, worked with the Girl Scouts, contracted with some different local schools for like maybe rewards days or their PE classes. And so that was a fun experience that I took on for a few years. And then probably about 4 years ago was when I really started to get into yoga. And so that has been a huge part of my life and journey over the last few years. And, you know, the dream of, like I said, the health wellness studio was always there in the back of my mind.
Oh, wouldn't it be cool if...
Yes. One of those things. And just not really knowing how or if it would ever actually take shape. And then the sauna thing just came to me like I said, it was just a God thing. It wasn't anything I ever expected.
Like, oh, that'd be super cool. I mean,
And so now here I am owning this studio and, you know, researching and learning about all these new and different technologies that go along with wellness and recovery for the body. And it's just fun and exciting to learn more about all these different ways that we can take care of our bodies. And I love learning about all these new things.
Okay. So is it more about like just the coolness of how our bodies functions, or is it more about like how it makes us feel, or both?
I would say both.
Yeah.
Because I think learning about how our bodies function and getting to know our own bodies better, you know, allows us to be able to take better care of ourselves, which of course is going to make us feel better. So when we take better care of our bodies, when we, you know, fuel it by eating the right foods and exercise it, you know, keeping those endorphins up and giving ourselves, creating more energy by using that exercise as a tool, I think is exciting that we can be in control of that by taking better care of our bodies and knowing what it needs. We can really be in control of our health. And that excites me. So
it does seem exciting. Hearing it from you, it does. Oh, okay. So I know that you're also a junior high teacher right now. Are you still teaching? Are you still planning to teach? What's the plan with all that? Because that seems like a lot, owning a business, running a business, and then also teaching.
It is a lot. Like I said, I did not expect to be doing or owning this business while still teaching. I really thought it would be something that happened down the road when my kids were graduated and I had stepped away from teaching, and I thought that's when it would happen.
The more retirement years.
Yes. And so God was like, no, the time is now. Which is actually what I put on my t-shirts. The time is now. And that's what that means. If anybody's seen my t-shirts around town and they're like, I wonder what that means. That's what it means. Because God was telling me like, the time is now. It's time to do that thing you've been waiting and waiting and waiting to do. So,
how did you know the time was now? How did he let you know that?
Oh gosh. Well, just, I mean, like I said, from introducing me to that technology, which actually happened through a friend and yoga teacher at another local gym I was at. And I was telling her that I was having some pain in my knees, and she was like, oh, you need to look into this thing called red light therapy. And so I started researching that. And then that led me to the infrared heat technology. And so it just kind of evolved from there. And then it snowballed into, here I am owning a sauna studio.
Okay.
But to answer your question, I do still plan to teach for the next several years until I get my business to the point where I feel like it can sustain me and, you know, taking care of me and my family.
Okay. Ooh, so still plate full for a while.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So what other services do you provide? We heard a little bit about the sauna, but I know there's more than that just offered at your studio. So what are some other services there that are provided?
Yes. So we also have a large studio space where we have live yoga classes. So you can come in and participate in, face-to-face being led by an instructor yoga classes. And we have quite a few instructors that rotate throughout the week and on the weekends. And I'm just so thankful and grateful for all of the talent we have in our area as far as that type of teaching.
Yeah.
I just feel grateful to be able to have so many talented instructors that can come into the studio and teach in different ways and different styles. And for our customers to be able to come in and experience just that level of professionalism in instruction, in that type of instruction. I'm really proud of our instructors that we have at the studio. And then we also have some dance fitness classes. Okay. So we started with a format called Groove, which is a little bit of a newer format, really cool. We had a girl teaching that for a while, and then she's kind of transitioning into some other things in life. And so she stepped away from that. But now we offer Zumba and hip hop cardio.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yes, those classes are super fun. And we're very excited to have those as well. I think as women, and it's not just limited to women. I do feel like our classes, especially the dance fitness classes, they tend to be more women than men. But I just think it's so fun to just come in with a group of friends and just be able to have that release, feel like you're at a dance party, you just come in and you just get to have fun for an hour and you're also, burning calories and, getting fit. So
do you lead any of those Zumba classes?
I do not lead any of the classes.
I was like,
I have not taught a class in a while. Oh, okay. It was probably like 12, 13 years ago that I taught Zumba. Wow. So right when that kind of movement was starting up was when I did that. And I loved it. I mean, that was I probably taught it for 5 years and it was a great time. But no, just because of the busyness of life, I have stepped away from
I just know you stepped in sometimes like, hey, let me do it one time.
No, I definitely will hop in on a class and participate. I'm just not the one teaching it.
Okay. And hip hop sounds kind of cool.
Yes.
I have a little story. So when I was a little girl, I was like, Mom, I want to learn how to dance. I meant hip hop, but I didn't know that's what it was called. So I got stuck in ballet and I was like, this is not what I wanted.
This is not what I wanted, Mom.
Yeah, but I didn't know that was basically T-ball. I didn't know that. So that didn't last long. But yeah, so it was cool that it's offered somewhere else.
That's fun.
And that, sounds like a lot of fun though. All right. So I know I've noticed this, because I've been a vendor before, or I've been invited to your studio before.
Yeah.
So you do other things, and I really love this. You do things with local makers, other local people, and you invite them in to do different things with your studio. Like your studio is not exclusively health and fitness.
Yes.
And that is super cool to me. So how did that come about? And, what are all the things that go with that?
Yes. Okay. So again, that was another God thing. He just hit me over the head and was like, okay, here's the next thing you're going to do with the studio. I had talked to a friend who has a clothing business in Ruston. Okay. She was doing a pop-up shop at, I don't know, some event. I don't even remember what it was, but she does little pop-up shops here and there, usually in Ruston. And we had spoken about maybe doing a pop-up shop in my studio for her clothing company.
Yeah. Okay.
And we talked about it. And then it was like one day I was just sitting there thinking about it and making plans for it. And, I thought, well, what if I did just like a whole market, and just invited a bunch of different vendors to come set up a little pop-up shop like on a Saturday. And this was back in the fall. And so, of course, the wheels start spinning and I was like, oh, well, it's about to be Christmas shopping time. You always have the big Black Friday.
Yeah.
Well, over the last several years, there's been this big push for shop local and support small business. And so there's a thing now called Small Business Saturday, which happens the day after Black Friday. And so, like I said, just my mind was kind of just rolling with
connecting
ideas, connecting the dots. And of course, I always go back to God because I just feel like He really is the one that puts all the pieces together for me. You know, and I just have to kind of tune into Him and listen to what He's telling me. But so we ended up hosting our first vendor market on Small Business Saturday last like Christmas season last year.
So 2021?
2021. And it was awesome. I mean, we had like 25 vendors there for our very first market. And I mean, we were slam packed in that studio. I probably had 15 in the big studio space. I cleared out my front retail space and had probably 5 or 6. And then luckily it wasn't so cold that we could have some vendors outside. We probably had 5 or 6 outside.
Wow.
We had this awesome vintage truck out there that my sweet neighbor let me borrow. And then one of the vendors, she pulls like her shop is in a vintage Airstream.
Okay.
And so that was our little Christmas scene, and we had photo ops, and it was just super fun. And then, like I said, you know, I do have the retail space up front. And so I love featuring local makers in there as well. So I'm trying to get plugged in as much as I can to other local businesses, local makers, and, you know, just kind of have that symbiotic relationship where we can
help each other,
support each other.
That's awesome.
And
I love that.
It's super fun getting to meet all these new creative people that, you know, I didn't know before.
And so are you gonna, because I think in the last few years, I was like, especially with certain family members, you know, that have everything or whatnot, I want to get something more unique, you know, something you can't just get off Amazon or anywhere.
Right.
So I started, especially our downtown, we have a lot of stuff downtown. But I think that's a really cool idea. So is that something you're going to try to do, like, you know, annually, like have
the small business thing was so successful that I definitely will continue to do that one annually. We did another one in the spring. And I do plan to do another one. Well, so I really want to do a health fair. Like I want to do a vendor market, but that it's mostly focused on like, health. You know, health and wellness. So bringing in some different local businesses that are health related and just featuring them and being able to all like see what each other has to offer. But then of course it'll be open to the public as well, so that they can come to one place and see like, wow, we've got all of these different places around our town and in the Twin Cities that can really benefit us and our lifestyles and our health and wellness. And, you know, I just think that would be a neat way to feature that. So I definitely want to do that in the near future. And then, of course, we'll continue to do just like the regular vendor markets as well. You know, whenever I can figure out a good time to squeeze them in.
Okay. All right. So that's all really, really cool. And I love that, you know, that community support. I think that's really unique. And I think it's just super awesome.
Thank you.
So from the classes and things that you guys do offer, what is your favorite? Or do you lean more? I mean, I know you like enjoy yoga and you have your pass with Zumba. So do you have a favorite?
Absolutely. I mean, I love them both so much. Yeah. Like my past, I guess, passion was Zumba and the dance fitness, which, like I said, I still love it. But just for this season of life, yoga is really something that just, I don't know, it captures my heart, my mind, my spirit. It's a place where I can go and, you know, I feel like I'm cared for holistically. So when I'm there, you know, I'm taking care of my body, you know, taking that step of recovering my body after, you know, working out with weights and things like that. You know, I'm getting the stretching in. I'm getting a little bit of strength work in. I'm getting that mobility work in. But then it's also, there's a very spiritual piece and meditative piece in a yoga class. And that's what made me fall in love with it in the first place.
Wow.
And so I love being able to go and just experience that at least a few times a week.
Wow. So, that does sound pretty enticing. You know, to clear your mind, you know, and just recover from that mental health and just, you know.
Absolutely.
Because I, you know, I have my history with teaching and whatnot, and that is a very stressful job. So I can see how
it is so for sure.
High stress.
Even if, like in my situation in particular, like I've been at the same school for the last 5 years. And so, the instruction piece of it, I feel like I've kind of got it.
Yeah, that part's always...
It's like, well, I can walk in and just do that. It's easy. But then you've got all these little wild personalities in the classroom with you, and it's navigating that's the stressful part.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the other expectations that you can't really always meet.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of demand on teachers. Yeah, it's a lot.
So I can see how yoga can really play into countering that.
Yes, absolutely. For sure. It helps balance me.
Mm-hmm. All right. So our kids are allowed to participate. Do your kids ever come up there?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we welcome all ages as long as they're able to, be still and quiet, really participate, Yeah. We've thought about offering like a mom and me or something for the littler ones who maybe can't quite focus as well as, an older kid or a teenager could. But yeah, my teenagers, they come up there and participate. We actually have a class going on right now through the summer, which is specifically for student athletes.
Okay.
So we've got a group of high school kids that are coming in, either before or after their workouts.
Yeah.
And they're, getting in that stretch and that relaxation and that mental toughness. They're getting to experience that through yoga. And so it's really neat, to see this younger generation get to experience something that, I didn't get to learn about till later in life.
I had weight training and running. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, back in the day, when we were in high school, yoga was just not a thing that we knew about.
Yeah.
It was sort of like this new age, weird.
Yeah, it was kind of put off as being weird.
Yeah, woo-woo.
Yeah.
But now, our culture has accepted it as a really, one is fitness, but, also as a way to decompress, a way to relax and stretch. And there's just so many benefits to it. It doesn't have to be woo-woo unless you want it to be.
Yeah. 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 So what hurdles stood in your way of making, the studio be your studio?
Well, I would say the big three were time, money, and fear.
Yeah.
So we know, time and money are always limited. Mm-hmm. And then fear is abundant.
For sure. Yes. Yes.
So, time, I'm a full-time teacher. That takes 9 months out of my year. Mm-hmm. I have 2 teenagers. Mm-hmm. And, they're very involved, very busy with their own things. And then, I'm having to run them here and there. And so the time aspect was when I really started seriously thinking about doing it, was do I really have time for this?
Yeah.
That was a little bit daunting. Okay, how am I going to do this?
Yeah.
Money, obviously, I'm a single mom. Mm-hmm. I'm a school teacher. We all know that school teachers don't make a great deal.
No.
And so funds were obviously going to be limited, and I was pretty adamant that I did not want to go into debt. I didn't want to go take this great big loan. I didn't really want to take on investors because I wanted it to be mine. I wanted to have full control of it.
Yeah.
And so that made it kind of tricky, but it just made me have to be very careful of how I spent every dollar, just pay very close attention to that. So
did it prolong that process too, of acquiring the things that you needed?
Well, again, God provided.
Yeah.
He really I had been saving money for a long time throughout my teaching career. And, I didn't know exactly what I would end up investing in. And that thing ended up being the business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And like I said, God really just led that. I mean, from the idea of starting it to actually opening the doors in July of last summer was probably 7-8 months total.
Wow.
So, I mean, yes, like I said, I had the idea in the back of my head for 20 years, but from the actual idea of, okay, I'm actually really getting ready to do this, it was about 8 months. And like I said, so for that to happen and for it to happen as smoothly as it did, all I can say is God is the one that worked it all out, because had it just been me, it never, that couldn't work without God. Fear was the other big thing. You know, like I said, because it's somewhat of a new concept for our area, at least the sauna part of it, the infrared sauna. Nobody was really talking about that. Nobody's doing that around town. It's happening, you know, in some bigger cities.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, just, I knew that there was a possibility that it could just be totally rejected. Like, nobody's going to want that.
Yeah. Crickets.
Right. Like, nobody cares.
And
nobody
I spent all my savings in this thing. Yeah.
Right. Right. So fear. Yeah, of course. But like I said, I just, depending on God really got me past that part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I kind of feel or understand you with that, because, you know, starting my podcast and put my, you know, writing my books and whatnot, you're like, you know,
right. Like, who does that in a small town?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's always that you have to, like, nope, I'm not going to listen to that.
And a lot of people, I think, still are like, what's a podcast?
So, yes, there's a few. I've met a few.
So,
yeah. And just kind of putting yourself out there as always. So I definitely understand that.
I love it. I think it's so exciting that you're doing this.
Yeah, thanks. And so how did you overcome, you know, those big three, the time, money, and the fear? Like, anything specific or that you can remember?
Yeah, definitely. So prayer is obviously, like, one of the biggest things, is just staying in contact with God constantly, and, you know, asking him to guide my decision making through the process and make things clear for me. Yeah. And then, of course, doing my due diligence, doing the research, you know, figuring out the best equipment and the best, you know, making sure I found the right location, and then being frugal, like obviously watching my money, watching every dollar, making sure I'm getting the most for what I'm putting out there. Yeah. So that was
part of all the parts of that.
Yeah. Those are the main things: prayer, research, and being frugal.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have any special people, like, speak life and encouragement to you along the way?
Yes, absolutely. So as this process was starting in the very early stages, like, you know, the research stage, and then finding the right things in the right place and all this, only like a very small handful of people knew about it. Yeah. In fact, I didn't even tell my parents until after, like, signed on the dotted line. And then I'm like, this is what I'm doing.
Yes, guess what? I understand that too, because sometimes they can be your biggest critic. They don't mean to be, but it's, you know, all in love.
They're trying to protect you.
But you're like,
Yeah. And I knew that would happen. You know, they would, you know, they just love you and they want to protect you. And so they're like, oh, you know, but what if this happens? And so I just knew that I had to, like, save it and surprise them with it. Yeah. So only a handful of people knew about it. But one of my very best friends, because I was teaching school when I started sort of the research process and really thinking, okay, I might really do this. I had in my mind that I had to wait until summer break to actually start making big moves towards it. And so I was like, I had gotten to, like, spring of last year and was like, I kind of felt stunted, or like I had to wait until we got out of school. You know, like I couldn't do anything big until we got out of school. I don't know why, but we do that to ourselves, you know? Yeah. And one of my best friends, she was like, well, you know, what if you just start doing one thing a day towards the business? Like making one phone call a day, sending one email a day, you know, doing this piece of your research or whatever, just doing one thing a day. And I don't know why, but that, like, conversation just stuck with me. Yeah. And so I started doing that. And by the time school was out, I had my building secured. I had put down a deposit. I had ordered my saunas.
Wow. Those are the biggest pieces.
Those are the two biggest things, right? I mean, money-wise.
Yeah.
And so I got there and it was like this great feeling of, wow, just taking these little baby steps each day and look how much progress was made.
Yeah.
So I'm really thankful for that person, speaking that into me.
Yeah.
And then another conversation is actually from the lady or, the husband and wife who I rent my building from. When I first was looking at the building.
Yeah.
And I was telling her my story, and it was cool because she was actually a teacher as well.
Yeah, how about
and
that?
Around the time she turned 40, which I'm about to turn 40, around the time she turned 40, she left teaching and started what is now a huge franchise, like a regional franchise. I don't know how many they have, but they have the TOTS, Teams of Tomorrow Basketball.
Okay, yeah.
And they started it right
That's
here in
really
West Monroe.
Didn't know that. Awesome.
So it was like we had a very similar journey. And she said to me, look, I don't want you to worry about whether or not you get this building. Don't leave here and feel stressed like, oh, I've got to hurry up and get it or else somebody else will. She said, if God intends for this to be your building, there will be nothing on this earth that can stop it from being your building. Yeah. And so I just left there with such peace, feeling like, wow, I felt so connected with her, which to me was a God thing. And then on top of that, I just felt like, wow, I don't have to worry. And so I thought about it for a few days, and then I called him and I was like, I really think this is it. I think God's saying that this is the place. And so that's really... Yeah,
that's really cool. That's... and I've learned just my little life here is that if God wills it, he's going to weigh it.
I love that.
If it's his will, he's going to make a way for it.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's what happened with you.
I love that. Yeah, there's another saying that it's kind of like that if he brings you to it, he'll bring you through it. And I tell people that all the time. And I have to tell myself that. Yeah. When I, maybe I'm having a bad day or a moment of worry, maybe over something going on with the studio or, maybe we had a slow week, and I start to get fearful, like, oh gosh, it's falling apart. It's going to fail,
It's really easy to get down on yourself on this stuff.
So easy. Because we're human.
Yeah. And some of it you feel like, oh, it's just me.
Yeah.
So
I have to remind myself, like, he didn't bring me here to not bring me all the way. He brought me to it. He's going to bring me through it. So I love that.
Awesome. How else have you seen God's provision? You mentioned the building and some other things. Are there any other details that you'd like to share?
Yeah. So, it's been, like I said, I feel like he's been in every detail of this journey of building this business. Yeah. And it's been so rewarding to see him work in my life through the business. There's so many cool stories of provision. Like I said, from the way that I found my building, being able to apply for and receive certain grants that have helped me financially. Obviously, the support that I have received from the community, the way that people have received it and, been a part of it. Yeah. And then, of course, all of the connections that I've made with, either a customer or other business owners that I've done, business to business operations or all the local makers that have come in. Just so many cool relationships have developed over the last year through the business. So that's been really neat to be a part of.
So, how has this experience, the whole experience, just drawn you closer to the Lord?
Well, probably more than anything else in my life, any other experience, it has taught me that when I let go and let him hold the reins and take control, that things can be so much better than I ever expected them to be. Yeah. You just have to let go. Yeah. And let him do it. Because golly, he's just so much greater than we are at everything. Yeah. Yeah. And it also has taught me to trust him and not be fearful. It's been the greatest, I guess, experiment in trust of just knowing that he's always got my best interest in mind. He is never going to let me go. He might let me stumble, but it's to teach me a lesson of, okay, well, how do you do better next time? How do you get through that hurdle next time.
Mm-hmm.
But he's never going to like just let you go.
Yeah.
He's always going to pick you back up and, put you on your path of where he wants you to go. So
show you a way, find you a way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have any advice like that you give someone that might be thinking of starting their own business or starting something new?
Yes, I would say to do it. To, let go of the fear. And that sounds a little cliche and maybe almost impossible to let go of it completely, but to not allow the fear.
Yeah, to control you. I get you.
Right.
Yeah.
To not allow it to stop you from doing that thing that you're dreaming of, because that thing that you're dreaming of, oh, and this is so good. I just thought of this. This is another thing that Miss Kim, who I rent my building from, that she told me, and I think it was that same night, actually, she said, you have this dream on your heart.
Yeah.
She said, that didn't just come from nowhere. She said, God put that dream on your heart. And so he's going to see you through that dream. Yeah. He's going to, if you listen to him and you're faithful in obeying him, then he's going to lead you there. Yeah. And so just not to let the fear of failure stop you from pursuing whatever that thing is that God has put on your heart.
Yeah, don't let that be your stumbling block. And
absolutely.
Yeah, I can second that because, it's always there. It kind of gnaws, I think just naturally. Yeah. But you just can't let it be the thing. You got to put that in a closet somewhere.
You got to put the fear in a closet and put God in the front seat. Mm-hmm. Let him drive. Yeah. And then I'll say too, like, you still have to do your due diligence. Yeah. Like you have to still do the research. You can't like just be like, okay, God, do the research. That's not how it works. Yeah. You have to make sure that you're budgeting yourself and doing all those like important things, but leaning on him for your decision making. Yeah. In my opinion, is the biggest part of it.
I just couldn't agree more with you, Lyndsay. And, I'm so glad you've been able to come out and share, your story and like why we have this wonderful business in our area, Pure Wellness.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure. And like I said, I'm so honored that you, offered for me to come out here and do this. I think it's so cool what you're doing, just sharing other people's stories. And I think it's very exciting.
Well, I'm glad I got to meet you. I think it's really pretty cool.
Absolutely. My name is Lyndsay, and this is my story of the middle.
I'm your host, Brandy Bostic, and you've been listening to the Up From the Muck podcast.
Psalm 40, verse 2. He brought me up from a desolate pit, out of the muddy clay, and set my feet on a rock, making my steps secure.